Workers of Reddit, when have you said, F this, I quit? Years ago I worked in a restaurant, and it was Christmas time. This place was supposed to function with 4 waitresses, a busboy, dishwasher, manager and 2 cooks. Only the manager and I showed up. He did the cooking, I took orders, served, bussed tables, washed dishes and so on. During this I accidentally dropped 2 bread plates and they broke. Manager says to me, I'll have to take those out of your pay. I told him that was funny, thinking he was joking. He wasn't. I turned around and grabbed a stack of dinner plates, threw them on the floor, and said take those out of my pay too, and walked out to leave him with the whole mess. I quit after working for 4 hours at a sushi restaurant. I asked where the bathroom was, and I was told we don't really get bathroom breaks. I left right then, and never came back. It was pretty sad. The manager said he understood, and wasn't mad at all. I had worked at a university for 23 years. There were over 7,700 staff and I think I had met half of them by then. Working as a senior fielded tech was awesome for the first 20 years. They were very flexible, and I had lots of side gigs. In the end the bean counters came in and made things more efficient by outsourcing many tasks. Usually they were the fun things. The last year was very repetitive and mundane. Lots of problems that we couldn't fix because they were someone else's problem. One day I came in and attempted to resolve 7 different problems, and I was shut down on each because they each had their own team of people whose responsibility it was. I said F this, what do you need me for? Went straight to HR to quit. Belinda, the hour manager, was not your typical cliched type. I'd fixed her PC before and knew her. She said, don't quit today, take the weekend, wait until Monday, and see how you feel then. I took her advice, temporarily retracting my signed resignation, and went home. On Monday the largest round of redundancies were announced in the university's long history. Because of the enterprise bargaining agreement, the payouts were incredible. My accountant, when he saw how much was being offered, suggested they had made a mistake and called on my behalf to check if it was correct. It was effectively 2 years' salary after tax. I would have missed out if Belinda had accepted my resignation. I used to work at McDonald's. I know. Opening usually involved me at the front counter with a headset on, so I could do drive-through orders and handle making coffee / putting orders together / taking money at the front from the little old people that came in at the crack of dawn every morning. We would also have a manager who was there to be important, and one person in the kitchen. We are a small rural town, so usually this is fine, but we were on kind of a major highway, so sometimes it would get busy out of nowhere. Depending on the manager, the amount of help we had would vary wildly. One morning we got super busy, and I started cracking under the pressure. I'm a fantastic multitasker, but my drive-through line was backing up, since I was trying to juggle them and all the walk-in folks from my front registers, and when it gets packed, well, it's fun. I glance around trying to find my manager for help. I see him on one of our cameras. He's outside smoking a cigarette around the side of the building. Mind you, this is like his 3rd trip out to smoke this morning. I'm absolutely dying trying to get caught up. Customers are being passive aggressive, saying they will come behind the counter and get their own coffee and stuff. I have people yelling at me in my headset from the drive-thru. I end up having to remove the headset just to try to get the front line sorted. I start making progress with the front, but I basically had to sacrifice the drive-thru customers for 2 minutes. Apparently the cars outside start yelling at my manager and interrupt his smoke break, so he comes in, sees me with my headset off and goes berserk. He's like, "Hoss, taking the drive-thru orders?" I'm in the middle of trying to get a fresh pot of coffee going, so I sort of auto-respond, "No one. Hang on." As I continue to dash around behind our counter to grab a fruit and yogurt parfait for an order, he basically gets in my way and starts giving me shit. Loudly, talking to me like I'm a dog. I point to the camera and yell loudly enough to disrupt the entire inside of the restaurant. I'm these 2 registers, first window, second window, and I'm bagging. I'm like 4 people and you're out behind the building not doing shit. His eyes go wide. I can tell he knows I'm holding on by my last thread. He sighs, and he's like, "You're in a ton of trouble, but we can talk about this later." No. Fuck him. I'm done. I'm all riled up from random customers yelling at me. I toss him the headset. You want to give me shit for not being able to run like 4 stations with no support. Run 5. I'll watch. I remove my name badge. He went to say something to me. I turn away, facing the one girl working in the kitchen who is watching this all play out. I remember telling her I'm so sorry, and then I dropped my name badge, toss my hat on the counter, grab a water cup, put on, and zip my jacket so my uniform is covered up. I go to the drink fountain, fill my water cup, and then I go sit on the far side of the seating area and watch him go down in flames. He ends up also taking off the headset and picking up the phone so he can spam call the whole workforce one by one trying to call for help. It's like 5 AM so no one is going to accept a call from their work number. About 10 minutes into his struggle he ends up very loudly pleading with me to come back from behind the counter. I can't even see him on the other side of the sea of people swarming the counter at this point. I call back I need a smoke first. And I go outside. I don't smoke. I've never smoked. I drive home. He ended up losing his job. Worked at a mall retail store in college for a couple years. When I was just a lowly peasant the manager was great to work for. Once I became a key holder is when things changed. I learned very quickly why the other key holders didn't last. The manager would make rash decisions that would then be blamed on everyone but her. Last straw was when the evening shift didn't change out some signage and I get in the next morning having no idea there was new signage to be put out. She came in and berated me about the signage not being updated. I walked in the back, dropped my keys off, told her I quit, and went to walk out. She grabbed me and told me I need to give a written notice and fax it to corporate. To whom it may concern. I Mico XS Big terminate my employment effective immediately due to manager's inability to properly treat staff. Faxed it and walked out. She read it after I had already sent it and chased me out, berating me more, claiming I would never get another retail job in this mall. Blah blah blah. 3 weeks later I started at another store in that mall and always made it a point to smile and wave at her when I saw her. When I was 14, I wanted a summer job with my best friend. We went to the fast food shop at the beachside. It was quite popular since it was the only fast food around. We get there on a Friday afternoon and we meet the owner, 50-something man with a big belly from probably the fast food he serves. Tells us we can get there the next morning and people would show us around. We get there at 9 AM, like he told us, and there was no one. First employees arrive at 10:30 to open. They have no idea we were supposed to work. They tried to help us the most they could, but they were cashier with no training for the food stuff. Both their cooks left that week and the owner was doing all the work. We finish our first day without any trouble. Slow day overall. Sunday arrive and we are not prepared for the sheer number of customer. We still have about no idea how to cook the food and how the equipment worked. Owner arrived with a bunch of his friends. We were swamped with people, but he shoved them around a bit and asked us to do 6 hot dogs, 6 fries and 6 Diet Cokes and fast. We knew it was for him, so we told people to wait, and we finished their order. Not 30 seconds after, the owner comes back behind the counter and begin to tell us we are shit at our job, and that the fries were not cooked enough, and that we messed the condiments on the hot dogs. Mind you, there were a lot of customers waiting for their food at that point and they were all looking at us getting yelled at by the owner. I looked to my friend, he looked at me, and we both knew what to do. We took our aprons off and told him to fuck off. We left him with all the orders right there and then. Never went back there. They closed down about 2 years after. Job got a VIP contract to vaccinate a bunch of elite clients. They rushed. They brought on some extra nurses, barely vetted them and began. Virtually no breaks and piles of paperwork. They didn't finish ordering and setting up the computers and there was only one computer to chart on like 100 patients a day. Not all the nurses got their clearance for the computer yet either. Scariest part was I had to stop someone from reusing a needle that she didn't realize she used on a previous patient. She told me she only primed it, pushed the air out, but I told her without alarming the patient that it was not suitable. I told her to go away and cleaned up her area, vaccinated the patient, and never went back. I was already sick of them only thinking about the bottom line. I worked as a server at a bar during college. The head bartender each day was in charge of assigning tables to the server. There was one bartender who really didn't like me, and every time she worked, she would give me the worst tables so that I wouldn't make as much in tips. She also did the scheduling. She started only scheduling me for slow times early in the day, like during lunch, when we would have 50% off lunch specials. It sucked, but fair enough. She does the scheduling and I needed the money. Well, it just got worse and worse, until I was barely making minimum wage, even though I was making close to $20 an hour when I started. One day, during a slow lunch, I was working with a different bartender. When the bartender's shift ended, the other bartender who did the scheduling came in to take over. I was serving a large table of probably 15 people, probably the best table I had had in a week or so. She saw this and decided to reassign tables and work as a server as well as bartender. She of course took my table and said it was now hers, even though I had been serving them for about an hour and they were almost done with their meal. This wasn't the first time, but it was the last straw for me. I went up to the table, explained the situation, and instead of just transferring the table, I cashed them out, which they were happy to do. So I collected the cash tip, told the bartender fuck you. I quit, and walked out with the tip from the table, and never talked to anyone at that bar again. I found a better job the next day. I was hired for a college to run their office, where students got hands-on work in the field. When I discovered that they were ripping off students' hours, I started providing students copies of their hours, and telling them to keep a notebook with the copies for their records. See, the students were on a contract that if they didn't graduate by the date estimated for completion, students were required to pay $200 every additional week it took to complete among suspensions, which in turn went against contract graduation date. They also asked me to falsify a report of students' absences to suspend them, even though I had documented proof the student was in class. I decided to leave that job, but not before telling students to report them to the state board and providing statements for the lawyer who the students gathered to represent their case. I used to work as some kind of aid worker / rescuer in events with large gathering of people, concerts, festivals, etc. The boss / owner always put her head down for the clients and allowed them to exploit us. One of the regular clients was the event manager of a popular stadium. They would ask us to be in the stadium 3 hours prior the event to clean, yup, and stay afterwards to clean, yup. The manager wasn't paying more money for it, but the boss didn't want to lose the client, so we just have to do it. So, there would be events with that took 16 hours to complete, with a menial pay, no food or beverage, and with the client expecting us to do more work for free. Note, I've never did that, and always encouraged my partners to leave. It wasn't our job to clean. But the moment that made me say fuck this shit was when the boss called me saying that the client emailed her with a complaint about me. I thought it would be about me and my team always leaving after the job was done and not staying for cleaning. But no, they told me that they always see you chatting with your partner and with a smile. They don't want the attendants to see their workers distracted and or laughing. They want to show that only professionals work with them. So they are asking that you turn down a notch your positive attitude and keep a poker face all the time. If you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing.